Erik Ainge is a host of The Erik Ainge Show on 99.1 The Sports Animal, weekdays from 9 to noon. He is not a client of Tennessee Wealth Management, but is compensated to both promote and co-host the Organized Investor Show.
Hello, Knoxville, and welcome into the Organized Investor Show, brought to you by Tennessee Wealth Management. It's me, your host, Erik Ainge, former quarterback of Tennessee, New York Jets, and these days you can catch me on 99.1 The Sports Animal, weekdays 9 to noon. But on weekends, well, we're here talking about something probably just as important as football in your life. How about your money? What's more important than your future? Got the full team in studio today, East Tennessee's Financial Four. First up is the Dean of College Knowledge. That's our fun way of telling you that Megan Hubbard from Tennessee Wealth Management and her master's degree in curriculum and instruction. She was a first grade teacher. She makes hard things simple for us and works right there at Tennessee Wealth Management. Next, my beautiful wife, Susan, currently studying her Series 7 exam and bringing that fresh perspective that I think a lot of our listeners can relate to. I hang on every word she says. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, 43 years of experience, formerly VP at Merrill Lynch, and the guy that we trust our own family's money with, the Ainge family. That's Jerry Goodman from Tennessee Wealth Management. Obviously, Jennifer behind the glass, keeping us rolling as always.
Both Erik and I are now affiliated with Tennessee Wealth Management. We even have phone numbers and email addresses.
No big deal.
How exciting is that? Our titles at the moment are Client Engagement Specialists, which means we specialize in getting our listeners engaged and keeping them engaged.
It all makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. All right, let's get you engaged with the fact that most people consider tax season in the first few months of the year, but actually your taxes are a year-round event. Sure, W-2s and 1099 show up in January and February, and CPAs across the country and right here in East Tennessee are getting ready for their busiest time of year. But just because you add it all up in the early part of the year, it covers the entire 12-month period. And here's what we're going to talk about today. And this is very important. Big difference between tax filing and tax planning. Two different things, and understanding the difference can literally save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. That's not an exaggeration. And we're going to show you exactly why and how today.
Erik, that is such an important distinction. And honestly, most people don't even realize there's a difference. When you go to your CPA in April and hand them your documents, what are they doing? They're looking backward. They're reporting what we already know, what has already happened. You know, that's just math. There's no strategy in tax filing. It's like looking in the rearview mirror of your car. You can see where you've been, but you can't change anything about it.
Megan's absolutely right. If you've been using a CPA for 30 years and all they've been doing is filing your tax returns, they've really done nothing to actually help you save money, okay? Tax planning looks forward. It's about looking through the windshield about what's coming down the road ahead of you, okay? Most CPAs, even the good ones, they're also busy during tax season, but they don't have time to think strategically about your situation. And from January through April, they're buried in paperwork. They're just trying to keep up. And that's why you need someone actually looking forward, especially involving your retirement.
Wait, so Jerry, just so I understand, and I think a lot of our listeners might be wondering the same thing, our CPA does our taxes every year, and I thought they were helping us. Are you saying they're not? Because, well that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, I got to know that.
Well, they are helping you in a certain way. They're making sure you don't get in trouble with the IRS as far as filing your tax return. That's what they're doing. But that's different than what's called tax optimization. I mean, think of it like this. A mechanic, he's going to change your oil, but that doesn't mean they're really tweaking around the engine to make it run a little better, are they? I mean, tax filing is changing the oil. Tax planning is designing the engine and kind of tweaking it that way to make it run faster, make it go more zoom, zoom, zoom. So, but both are important. Both are completely different skill sets.
And here's what I tell people. So, Dad, you wouldn't go to a general practitioner for heart surgery, right? I hope not.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you'd go to a cardiologist, a specialist. The same is true for a tax perspective. CPAs are great. They serve their role. Obviously, my husband is a CPA, so I think that he has a pretty significant role in helping people. But when it comes to strategies for moving money, saving over your lifetime, and optimizing your retirement tax situation, you want a specialist who knows what they're doing. You want someone who understands the IRS playbook inside and out.
All right, so here's what we're going to call a big tax tip, a big fat tax tip. You may have heard this, you may have never heard this, but we refer to it as Sweet 16. Sweet 16 is the golden window for tax planning. It's the years between when you retire, usually around 60 to 65. If you're Jerry, you're going to work forever. And when required minimum distributions kick in at age 73. That's roughly 8 to 16 years where you have control over your tax situation. During those years, you can do Roth conversions, manage your brackets, set yourself up for lower taxes later. But here's the thing. If you don't know about this window, you'll miss it entirely. And once those years are gone, well, you can't get them back. Sweet 16.
And this is where the rearview mirror versus windshield analogy really hits home. If all you're doing is filing taxes each April, you're not thinking about these opportunities. You're just reporting what happened last year. But if someone is looking through the windshield with you, they can say, hey, you're in a low bracket this year. Let's move some money from your IRA to your Roth and pay taxes at 12 or 22% instead of 32% later. That's the difference between filing and planning.
So there's a lot of things we can help our clients with in tax planning. It's important. But for our clients, basically, it's even more important because we made them a lot more money than most people. Now, sounds like a little bragging, and maybe kind of we are, but it's actually true. We started off with a goal for everybody to improve someone's overall performance by at least 2% a year. That's where we start from. Now, that may not sound like much, but let's put this in real dollar terms, okay, in perspective. On $1 million portfolio, that's an extra 20,000 smackers per year in your pocket. 20,000.
And if you let that extra money compound every year, that's an extra 2% annual improvement on $1 million. In 20 years, it will have grown to $485,000. That is not pocket change. That is not a rounding error.
Ching.
That is a vacation home that your grandkids' college education completely paid for. That's the difference between a nervous retirement and a comfortable one.
All right. Now, if you're wondering if our clients have been making more money than most, we're about to do something that many of you have never, ever experienced. We're going to tell you our performance numbers because I think that kind of sets the stage for what people and why people are listening and why people that have listened since we've started doing this have already been reaching out and contacting us and going to lunch and sitting down and moving money anyway. For the 1 year period ending December 31st, 2025, our average client return was 36.3% net. Again, that's after fees.
Did
net.
you say 36 points?
Let me say it again, 36.3%.
I thought that's what you said.
The Dow Jones was up 13% during that same period. That's beating the market by over 23 percentage points, which is almost triple what the Dow did last year alone.
And those aren't cherry-picked numbers. That's all 198 accounts. And every one of them are listed in a 10-page summary on the investments page of our website, theorganizedinvestor.com.
Clever.
And we show the last 4 digits of every account number so clients can verify their own results, and so you know that they're real.
So here's some more numbers we're proud about, and we didn't cherry pick either. 3-year average, 19.3% annually, compared to the Dow at 13.2. 5-year number, 13.3% versus the Dow at 9.4. 7-year number, 16.7 versus 10.1. And all of these, the net of fees, all verifiable, all very transparent. They're all posted on the investments page of our website. And we wouldn't post these if they weren't true because our clients can actually go and look at the last 4 digits of the account number and actually look at their own performance. It's public. It's there.
We don't like making generalizations, but we would expect our performance exceeded what most people have realized by far more than our measly little 2% improvement goal.
Maybe you should say to bump it up to 3%.
We could. If 2% improvement over a 20-year period is a vacation home, a 4% improvement is 2 vacation homes. Or maybe it's being able to retire years sooner, or maybe paying for a college education for multiple grandchildren. Dad's got 6, so he's going to need to really bump his percentage number up.
Good thing it hadn't been 2%, actually. Good job, Jerry. Good job, Jared. Good job, team. All right, so we're putting these in front of you to give you a benchmark as to what is possible with your investments because your own advisor is not going to tell you how mediocre your performance may be. They're the person that suggested you invest in that mutual fund advisory account that has high advisory fees, internal costs inside the funds, and average performance. And maybe about half of what clients have realized. And folks, those numbers are posted publicly. It's, again, theorganizedinvestor.com. Anyone can see it.
And I love that Jerry and Jared invest their own retirement money the exact same way they invest for clients. Same stocks, same strategies, same decisions. Because when your advisor's money is on the line too, the results tend to be different. They eat their own cooking, as Jerry likes to say. There's no separate strategy for them versus what they recommend to clients. Of course, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. We always have to say that, and it's important that people understand it.
Here's something else we just don't love to say, but we're going to. The returns of those 198 accounts, they're going to vary depending on each individual person's investment objective and their tolerance for risk. But when you see a track record like this posted publicly for everybody to verify, it tells you something about the approach, okay? So now let's get back to that tax planning conversation because there's something else we need to talk about. Let's talk about Roth conversions.
All right. So a Roth conversion is when you move money from a traditional IRA where taxes are deferred to a Roth IRA where money grows tax-free forever. So when you convert this, you are paying taxes on that money now at your current rate. But here's the key. If your current rate is lower than what it will be later, you're paying taxes on the seed instead of the harvest. Would you rather pay taxes on the seed you plant or the entire harvest you reap? It's a simple question with a very powerful answer.
And I love that analogy because it really paints a picture. I'm a visual guy, right? So think about it this way. If you're a farmer, you want to pay taxes on the small amount of seed you're planting, not the massive harvest that grows from it. With traditional IRAs, you're paying taxes on the harvest, that full-grown amount after decades of growth. With Roth conversions done strategically, you pay taxes on the smaller seed while it's still small. And all that growth is tax-free forever. It's simple math when you look at it.
So let's think of tax planning like a traffic light. Sometimes it's red. Don't convert because you're in a high tax situation already. Sometimes it's yellow. Be cautious. Evaluate carefully. Maybe do a partial conversion. And sometimes it's green. So go ahead and convert because you're in an optimal situation.
For many people at that 22% marginal rate, that's the green light time. You want to fill up the bucket to the top of your current bracket each year, making hay while the sun is still shining. Take advantage of those lower rates while you can before they potentially go up.
Exactly right, Eric. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. Tax rates are historically low right now. 1954, the tax rate was 94%. Think about that. In the 70s and 80s, the top rate was around 70%. Now we're at historical lows compared to where we've been in the past. And tax rates, they're kind of like a train that keeps going down, down and down and down over decades. So do you think the train's going to keep going down forever, or is it eventually going to kind of do a little reversal and go back up?
So as a reminder, the Trump tax cuts didn't expire this year, but they may happen in the future. And prudent planning means acting now while you know what the rates actually are. You don't want to have to be playing catch up later.
So Jerry, can you give us an example of how much someone could actually save with these Roth conversions? I think real numbers help people understand the opportunity.
Absolutely. We had a client with about $800,000 in a traditional IRA, fair amount of money. We ran an analysis and showed him that basically by doing a Roth conversion of about $50,000 per year over 10 years, $500,000, while they were still in this lower tax bracket, before the required distributions started kicking in, they would save a couple $100,000 in taxes over their lifetime. The key was not converting too much, which was going to push them up into a higher tax bracket, and not converting really too little, which would leave a lot of opportunity, let's put it, on the table. We call that filling up the bucket to the top of your current bracket each and every year.
And Dad, that's money they kept instead of sending to Uncle Sam. So that's money for trips with grandchildren, for charitable giving, for leaving a bigger legacy.
Your kids?
Yeah, exactly. Notice all of these. I'm like, grandkids, kids, taking care of your
Megan's
family.
like, don't forget, Dad.
Family pets, too. Let's not forget them.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure your pet's probably the one that's going to be left.
Mo's getting everything.
Everything.
Yeah,
And my sister
no,
and I are
Megan,
going to be.
you and Meredith get nothing. It's Mo.
And we're going
to get his hair did.
we're going to be just told to do whatever Mo wants. But anyways, all of this because someone, was looking through the windshield instead of just the rear view mirror. And that's the power of proactive tax planning.
And I think what makes this powerful is that the team at Tennessee Wealth Management are doing this kind of analysis for clients each and every day. This isn't like theoretical. This is real money for real people. Again, Jared, Megan's husband, practicing CPA on the team at Tennessee Wealth Management. He can answer any questions you may have about this exact subject. He is the tax department grand poobah.
There's one more thing we need to mention before the break. It's something that actually catches people completely off guard. It's called the widow tax penalty. It sounds terrible. And if you're married and you haven't planned for it, it could devastate the surviving spouse financially and also emotionally.
So on this little term, the widow tax penalty, it happens when one spouse dies and the other spouse basically goes from filing a joint return to a single tax return, okay? And here's what people don't understand. Your tax brackets nearly are cut in half. Okay, that's the bracket side of this. So the surviving spouse who may have similar income is suddenly paying taxes at a much higher rate. It's a trap that catches a lot of people when they're already emotionally devastated from someone losing their partner. No one tells you about this when you're doing your regular tax filing.
All right, we're going to keep digging even deeper into this after the break because there's even more to get to. And when we come back, you're going to hear what Jerry likes to call the IRA tax bomb and why your IRA might be the most dangerous asset in your retirement portfolio. Plus, we're going to tell you about 4 things you can get absolutely free just by giving us a call. Again, 865-415-2070. That goes straight to Jerry's cell phone, and he will answer it. If for some reason he didn't, I'm probably bothering him. He will call you back. You can also go online, theorganizedinvestor.com. Stick with us right here. It's the Organized Investor Show on News Talk 98.7.
Rising high above downtown Knoxville, one landmark shines brighter than the rest: the Sun Sphere. Since 1982, this golden symbol of the World's Fair has defined our skyline. And now, it defines how Knoxville celebrates. SunSphere Events invites you to host your next gathering inside Knoxville's most iconic event venue. 2 breathtaking floors of panoramic views set the stage for unforgettable weddings, corporate receptions, and milestone celebrations, all framed by the glow of East Tennessee. From intimate dinners to grand galas, SunSphere Events delivers an experience as elevated as its view. And with trusted local partners, including the culinary team from Rose's Catering, celebrating over 50 years in East Tennessee, your event is in expert hands. Plan your next celebration today at sunsphereevents.com. SunSphere Events, Knoxville's most iconic event venue.
At the Grimes Agency with Goosehead Insurance, getting a quote has never been easier. With our industry-leading online quoting tool, you can answer a few simple questions and see real-time quotes from over 30 A-rated insurance companies right on your screen or phone, often in less than 30 seconds. The entire process takes about 5 minutes, giving you instant access to real prices so you can make sure you're getting the most competitive option for your home and auto insurance. Your information is never shared, sold, or sent to third parties. Everything goes directly to the local Goosehead Insurance office where Mike Grimes and his team review your results, run your reports, and confirm your final quote when you're ready. Call Mike Grimes at 865-281-1267 or visit www.tn.insure today to experience the future of insurance shopping. The Grimes Agency with Goosehead Insurance. Insurance the way you always wished it was done.
Erik Ainge is a host of the Erik Ainge Show on 99.1 The Sports Animal, weekdays from 9 to noon. He is not a client of Tennessee Wealth Management, but is compensated to both promote and co-host the Organized Investor Show.
All right, we're back. It's the Organized Investor Show. It's me, Ainge. I'm here with my wife, Susan, and Megan Hubbard, Jerry Goodman. It's East Tennessee's Financial Four. It's the same 4 of us that you probably heard last week, or you probably just tuned in to hear. Before the break, we were telling you about the difference between tax filing and tax planning. The rear view mirror versus looking through the windshield. It told you about the Sweet 16 between retirement and RMDs, Roth conversions, and we started talking about even the widow tax penalty. But now I want Jerry to explain what he's calling the IRA tax bomb. Jerry, it sounds ominous. What exactly are we talking about here? Because I know a lot of listeners have worked hard to build up their IRAs over the years. IRA tax bomb, go.
Well, Eric, I guess I would like to say something that may surprise people. Your IRA may actually be, it sounds weird to call it this, the most dangerous asset in your retirement portfolio, your IRA. Not because of the market risk necessarily, but because of the tax risk. Most people think of their IRAs as this wonderful little nest egg they built through their entire career to kind of retire off of. They're proud of the number when they actually look at it on their statement. But they don't realize that Uncle Sam, the guy with those little red and white pants on, basically he's your silent partner in this whole situation. He's your partner.
And Dad, the Uncle Sam partnership analogy is actually so accurate. They don't tell you this when you sign up for your 401k at your job, but essentially, Uncle Sam becomes your partner for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. He gets to share a percentage of your success every single dollar you take out. And it's not a small percentage. We're talking somewhere between 15 to 30%, and in some cases, 40% of your success over your lifetime belongs to Uncle Sam. That's a partner you never chose, but you can't get rid of him.
Wait, 40%?
40.
That seems really high, Jerry.
Well, it's not as much as 50, but it's up there.
How does someone end up paying 40% of their IRA to taxes?
So let's paint you a little picture, Suzanne. Let us say someone has $60,000 coming in already from, let's say, Social Security, which is pretty typical for a lot of couples. So then they hit 73 in that age when they start having to deal with the required minimum distributions. So let's say they have a large IRA, say a couple of $1 million in it, and the RMD coming out of that, let's say it's $200,000 a year, just to pull a number out of the air. So now you add $200,000 of the required minimum distribution to the $60,000 of Social Security. So for a single person, that may be a 35% tax bracket, at around $205,000. And that's forced income, folks. You have to take that out whether you need it or not.
Okay, that sounds ridiculous. So just because the government forces you to start taking that distribution at 73, you're suddenly paying way more in taxes than ever expected, even though you didn't even need or want the money?
Exactly right. Okay, they're here to help you. Yeah, and here's the kicker, as in football kicker, you might not even need the money, as we said, for living expenses. But Uncle Sam with the red and white pants doesn't care about all that, okay? You're taking out the money, you're having to pay the taxes on it, whether you need it or not. That's why we call it the tax bomb. It explodes at 73. If you haven't diffused it earlier during those sweet 16 years that we were talking about. And by then, it's too late because you didn't do anything about it.
This is why those sweet 16 years between retirement and RMDs are so absolutely critical. If you're proactive during that window, you can move money from your traditional IRA to a Roth. You can pay your taxes at your current lower rate, and you can reduce the size of that time bomb before it goes off. But if you just sit there doing nothing, waiting till, you're 73, you've lost your opportunity to control the situation. The bomb just keeps getting bigger every year from growth and compound interest, and then boom, it goes off when you're least prepared.
So as long as we're talking about tax on your investments, let's recap this performance of Tennessee Wealth Management for folks just joining us. 1 year return through December 31st, 2025 was 36.3%, net of fees, beating the Dow by over 23 points. 5-year average, 13.3% annually versus the Dow's 9.4. 7-year average, 16.7% versus the Dow at 10.1. Everything's posted publicly. You can check it all out. We're not making it up. It's right there at the website, theorganizedinvestor.com.
And Eric, we said it before, say it again. These fees are all net of any kind of fees or costs. There's no gross numbers hidden inside of this. That's the real story. We believe in transparency because we have nothing to hide here. We wouldn't post this publicly on our website if these weren't true, because our clients can actually go through and look at, say, the last 4 digits of their account number and see what their returns are. These are publicly posted. Now, of course, we said this many times, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Everybody knows that, but our track record speaks for itself. It's what happens when you have this disciplined approach and you actually care about what the client outcomes are. It's common to see a lot of advisory accounts that hold mutual funds in them that have a lot of fees buried deep inside that you don't even know about.
We have an example of a mutual fund advisory account on the investments page of our website that has average internal costs of about 0.79% annually. On $1 million portfolio, that's $7,900 per year in hidden costs before you even count the advisory fee. And in that same example, the 5-year performance was only about 9%. So after the advisory fee was deducted, the net return was now down to about 8%. By comparison, our 5-year net rate of return is at 13.3%, more than 5% higher than this example.
All right, Jerry, Big Game Goodman, let's go deeper on this IRA tax bomb. You have my interest. Can you give people a real example of what this looks like in dollars and cents? Because I think when people actually see the numbers, I think it hits home more.
So here be the math, Mr. Ainge. Let's start with a couple. Say they have $1 million in their IRA. It's a nice little nest egg. If they don't plan, let's just say they let it sit there until the required minimum distribution period at 73, when that starts to kick in. Then one of the spouse dies, okay? So the surviving spouse now faces what we called the widow tax penalty on top of the forced distributions. Now think about this. So in that scenario, $400,000 of that $1 million could go to Uncle Sam over a period of time. But if they do plan, they convert strategically over a 7 or 10-year period to get that money into the Roth at a lower rate, maybe only $150,000 goes to Uncle Sam. Still a lot of money, but it's a lot less than $400,000. See, that's the $250,000 difference just by doing a little planning ahead kind of a scenario here. And that's real money, folks, that could pay for a lot of trips, grandkids, peace of mind, things for your best friends even, like me.
$250,000 just from planning ahead versus doing nothing? Well, that's an incredible difference.
That's a lot of money.
Just from planning ahead, okay? And here's what breaks my heart about this. Their parents, they worked hard all their lives, saved diligently, didn't spend a lot of money on doing things, didn't do extra vacations, didn't enjoy some of the money, all just to leave it to their children, okay? And because of poor planning, the children end up getting maybe a 30 or 40% discount of that going to taxes off of their inheritance. Instead of receiving $1 million, they got $600,000. Now, can you imagine the look on the mom and dad's face, if they knew that almost half of their life savings went to taxes and they sacrificed their entire life for that money?
That's a really sad situation. So under the Secure Act that passed a few years ago, there's another layer to all of this. When your children inherit your IRA, they have to take it over 10 years. They can't stretch it over their lifetime anymore like the old rules allowed. So those distributions get added to their income during their highest earning years, typically their 40s and their 50s. That pushes them into higher brackets when they're already making good money. And it's like a tax trap that follows your money from generation to generation if you don't plan.
Okay, this reminds me of a story Jerry was telling me. Okay, so a family, they inherited a $7 million IRA from their parents, an incredible legacy, a ton of money. The original owner spent their whole life building it, never took the money out, lived frugally, all right, didn't do a lot of extra stuff. They thought they were doing the right thing. When they passed, in this family, the beneficiaries, they had to take it out, like Megan was just saying, over 10 years under the Secure Act rules. The distributions pushed them into the top tax brackets every single year. Because it was so much money, they lost several $1 million just because of how the distributions were timed and taxed. If the original owner had done what we're talking about, would have converted on it earlier, they would have saved about $3 million, real money that they just couldn't have.
So the person who saved all that money thought they were doing the right thing by not touching it and letting it grow. But they actually created a bigger problem for their kids? Gosh, that's heartbreaking.
Exactly. And that's the cruel irony of this whole situation, okay? The frugality that built this wealth also built the tax problem, okay? If they'd enjoyed some of that money during their retirement or strategically converted some of it during that sweet 16-year period that we talked about, the family would have been so much better off. Tax deferred doesn't mean tax free. It just means tax delayed. You're going to pay it at some point in time. A delayed tax on a growing account means a growing tax bill.
I think a lot of people hear tax deferred and they think they're getting away with something. They think they're, outsmarting the IRS somehow. Good luck with that. But all you're really doing is letting that tax bill grow along with your account balance. The longer you wait, the bigger the bill gets. It's just simple math. And eventually either you pay it or your kids are paying it, but somebody's paying Uncle Sam.
Okay, and Jerry, what about people who say, well, I'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, so it makes sense to wait? I've heard that advice before.
That used to be the conventional wisdom, Susan, but it often doesn't work out that way. First, you have Social Security income that's partially taxable. Then you have a pension plan. If you're lucky enough to have one, you have to pay tax on that. Then you have the RMDs, the required minimum distributions. Those kick in at 73, force you to take the money out whether you need it or not. So you add all that together, you've got a lot of retirees find themselves, they're in the same tax bracket, maybe even higher when they were still working. So the assumption is you're going to be in a lower bracket. It often is just not right.
Plus, we have to consider the tax rates themselves could go up in the future. The government has a massive debt problem, over $36 trillion and growing every single day. So where's that money going to come from eventually? Well, the only two options are printing money, which causes inflation, or raising taxes. Either way, keeping money in a traditional IRA and betting on lower future rates is a risky bet. And here's something people don't realize. So the government actually wants you to keep that money in your IRA. They benefit when you don't do tax planning. They're playing chess while most Americans are playing checkers.
All right, so let's bring it in here. What should people do if they're listening today, if they're sitting there with a big IRA thinking, oh no, I've got this tax bomb that they're talking about, what's the first step they should take? They need to have a chat with Jared, Megan's husband, right there, CPA, Tennessee Wealth Management, and have that in-depth discussion about your situation. You can discuss what your lifetime tax burden looks like under different scenarios. Like recently, Jared had a couple come in where they were showing them the tax track to pay $400,000 to Uncle Sam over their retirement if they didn't make any changes.
So they implemented a little different approach, converted the Roth over 7 to 10 year periods. I think how that worked out. Timing withdrawals very strategically, filling up those lower tax bracket buckets, if you will. And they got the number down to around half that. So it's $200,000 they got to keep for themselves, which, folks, this is life-changing money.
And that's where our 4 get one frees come in. So we want to help people see their situation clearly. First, we have a Morningstar report that gives you an independent analysis of your current investments with a plain English explanation of what you actually own. Second, an Envision cash flow analysis that shows if you're on track for retirement and projects your income and expenses forward. Third, free estate planning documents, including a will package through our Trust and Will partnership that normally costs hundreds of dollars to get done.
All right, wait, I'm going to steal the fourth one. Let me go. I got the fourth one. Fourth freebie, I will throw in a signed Tennessee football with a display stand or a kickstand, something to put it on. It's really cool. Hey, go Vols.
And there's no cost, no obligation, no catch, and no pressure. We believe if the information speaks for itself, smart people will make smart decisions. We're not going to twist your arm or give you a hard sell. Just come in, learn something, and decide what's right for you.
Now, for the people that have picked up the phone and called us, one of the very first things we like to say is congratulations for not being such a scaredy cat, okay? Seriously, look, maybe we are kind of crazy, but we're not criminally insane, okay? There's a big difference here. And we've helped a lot of people, like to chat about what they've been doing and when they come by and talk about their investments, retirement, their affairs, and we're really glad that they've called.
And our working relationship with Trust and Will is a perfect example. We write them a big check once per year, and we have unlimited access for our clients to get all of their estate planning documents done, completely free of charge. And we find it works well for about 95% of everyone that we meet with. For the other 5%, with a special situation, we can introduce you to a local attorney who can help you with this for a very reasonable flat fee. So, if you're willing to listen to us on the radio and also willing to call us, we'll help you with this just like our clients. My dad likes to do at least one good deed a day from his Boy Scout days, and this can fall into that category. So call us for a chat. Your phone is not that heavy.
And here's how you do it, guys. The number to call, 865-415-2070. That's 415-2070. It goes straight to Jerry's cell phone. He answers it himself. No automated system, no runaround, no person to click through this, that, the other. It's going to go to Jerry. Or you could just go to the website, theorganizedinvestor.com, and you can see all this information. All right, so when we come back, we're going to dig a little deeper into widow and widower penalty, because there's actually a third hit that most people don't even know about. You're listening to us right here. Don't go anywhere. It's the Organized Investor Show on News Talk 98.7.
For more than 50 years, families, businesses, and neighbors have trusted one name to make life's biggest moments unforgettable: Rose's Catering. Family owned, locally grown, serving this community since 1971. And now, Rose's is taking hospitality to new heights. Literally. Inside the iconic Sunsphere, Knoxville's shining symbol from the 1982 World's Fair. Introducing Sunsphere Events. 2 breathtaking floors of panoramic views, elegant gatherings, and the warmth only Rose's can provide. Whether it's a wedding in the sky, a corporate reception, or a celebration with friends, Rose's and Sunsphere Events bring people together beautifully. Visit rosescatering.com. or sunsphereevents.com to plan your next unforgettable event. Rose's Catering, a Knoxville tradition since 1971.
At the Grimes Agency with Goosehead Insurance, everything starts with one goal: putting clients first. The team is committed to adding value, providing clarity, and ensuring every client feels confident in their coverage and price. As a true brokerage, the Grimes Agency shops your insurance with over 30 A-rated companies, including Progressive, Farmers, Travelers, Nationwide, Liberty Mutual, and many more, so we can make sure you have great coverage at the most competitive rate. From home, auto, umbrella, and dwelling to life and jewelry insurance, They offer personalized protection for what matters most. With honesty, transparency, and a client-first approach, this is insurance the way you always wished it was done. Call Mike Grimes at 865-281-1267 or visit www.tn.insure to compare real quotes in minutes. The Grimes Agency with Goosehead. Insurance the way you always wished it was done.
Erik Ainge is a host of the Erik Ainge Show on 99.1 The Sports Animal, weekdays from 9 to noon. He is not a client of Tennessee Wealth Management, but is compensated to both promote and co-host the Organized Investor Show.
And welcome back to our final segment of the Organized Investor Show. For this edition anyway, you can always check us right here on Newstalk 98.7. It's me, Erik Ainge, with my wife Susan, Megan Hubbard, and Jerry Goodman, East Tennessee's Financial Four from Tennessee Wealth Management. We've been talking about tax season strategies that can help you both last year and this year. We've covered the difference between tax filing and tax planning, looking in the rearview mirror versus looking through the windshield. We also talked about Jerry's IRA tax and why your IRA might be the most dangerous asset in retirement from a tax perspective. Now, I want to dig into something that I think is one of the most overlooked problems in all of retirement planning. We call it the widow and widower penalty. And there's actually a triple whammy involved that most people have absolutely no idea what we're about to bring their way. Jerry?
Yeah, I'm actually sorry you bring it up because this truly is, I feel very strongly about this. This is going to be one of the most devastating things that people can run into at the worst possible time, okay? Someone's spouse dies. The surviving spouse, they get hit with basically three different directions all at once. First, their taxes go up. So you look at a married filing jointly, and all of a sudden they go down to filing single on the tax return, and your tax bracket gets cut nearly in half. Next, you got your income that goes down. You lose one of the Social Security checks, sometimes the larger one. And third, this is what catches people completely off guard. Often the healthcare costs may even stay virtually the same. So it's kind of a triple whammy that financially devastates the survivor who really isn't prepared for any of this.
That third one is what really surprises people when they first hear about it, honestly. Your Medicap policy doesn't decrease just because your spouse passed away and your income dropped. Your prescriptions still cost the same amount of money every month. Your healthcare expenses may not get cut in half just because there's only one of you now. But you're trying to cover all of those same costs on significantly less income while simultaneously paying higher taxes. It's a financial perfect storm.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly, Jerry. If my husband passed away, I would lose his Social Security check, my tax rate would nearly double because I'm filing single, and I'd still have to think about the same healthcare costs. That's absolutely devastating to even think about.
Well, it's devastating, Susan, and don't blame me. I'm not the one that did this, but emotionally and financially, it causes a big problem.
Jerry's just making me die right now.
Yes, indeedy. Well, to be clear, let's just say the surviving spouse was the primary policyholder on, say, a health plan with their company where they still worked, okay? If the spouse passes away, the premium basically for that surviving spouse is pretty much going to be the same. Might drop a little, but it's not going to be much. And the way I describe this, the surviving spouse gets punched in the mouth. It's kind of like a football thing, isn't it? Punched in the mouth, the tax rate's going up, and then she's getting kicked in the gut because her Social Security and her overall income just went down.
That's the double whammy right there. Higher taxes, lower income. And then the healthcare costs staying the same. It's like getting tripped. You're already falling. All right? It's already a terrible situation. All this happens at the exact same moment when you're emotionally devastated by losing your life partner. Punched in the mouth, kicked in the gut, tripping. You're already falling. That's a powerful way to put it, Jerry. And I think it really captures what people are going through. A lot of couples out there right now, they just don't realize that this is going to happen. This can happen.
70% of the time. Sorry, Erik. The wife gets to keep the larger check, granted, but the $3,000 she basically is hers, but she loses the other $1,500. Okay? That's $18,000 a year that's lost, right there, just gone.
And then the tax change hits her on top of that loss. So that same $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year, is now taxed at nearly double the rate because she's filing as single instead of married filing jointly. The 22% bracket for married couples is twice as wide as the 22% bracket for single filers. So even though her income went down by $18,000, her taxes went up significantly. It's counterintuitive and it catches people completely off guard when they experience it.
And then her Medigap policy is still the same cost every single month. Her prescriptions are still the same price. Her heating bill for the house is still the same amount. Her property taxes didn't go down. It really is a triple whammy hitting all at once.
Susan, most families, they have zero idea this is coming until it just shows up, okay? Nobody warns them, not their CPA that's looking out in the rearview mirror at their taxes that they've been in the past. It's not their financial advisor even that focuses just strictly on the investments. That's why a Roth conversion, for example, most of the time when we do this analysis makes a lot of sense, okay? Because if you convert the money to a Roth while both spouses are still alive and filing a joint return, you're paying tax at a much lower rate because you're filing a joint return. When one spouse passes, the money in the Roth is already tax-free. It doesn't matter when the surviving spouse's tax bracket becomes.
So the planning really needs to be done, like you just said, Jerry, when both spouses are alive and healthy. You can't wait until one of you is gone to start thinking about this. By then, it's too late to take advantage of this joint filing rates.
That's exactly right. And the time to plan is now, when you still have the options, still have some decisions that you can make together. So again, once the spouse passes, you've lost the opportunity to convert at that lower rate. You lost the opportunity to adjust a lot of other strategies together and make decisions as a team. So the surviving spouse is left dealing with this tax situation that they never saw coming. They don't have an option. And they're dealing with it while basically grieving, which makes the decision-making process overwhelming. So I can't tell you how many widows that we've met who say they'd wish their husband had explained all this to them before they passed, but unfortunately the husband may not even have known about it.
And that's something that both spouses really need to hear. Whether you're the one who handles the finances or not, both of you need to understand the plan. Both of you need to know where the accounts are and what the strategy is, because life is unpredictable, and you never know who's going to need that information.
And there's another layer to this that makes it even more complicated. So if the surviving spouse has to take RMDs from an inherited IRA, those distributions could push them into an even higher bracket. So now they've got the widow penalty and the IRA tax bomb going off at the same time. Lower Social Security income, higher tax rates, same healthcare costs, and forced RMD income on top of it all. It can be financially catastrophic if you haven't planned for it.
And I imagine this is especially hard for women because they tend to outlive their husbands, right? So more often than not, it's the wife who ends up dealing with this situation.
That's right. Women live, on average, about 5 to 7 years longer than men. And on top of that statistic, if you will, you're already younger than me, right? So we've been figuring this out, right? So roughly 70% of the time, it's the wife who becomes the widow and faces the penalty. And often, she was less involved with the financial planning during the marriage.
So she's dealing with grief. She's dealing with a new tax situation she doesn't really understand. She's got reduced income, all these happy things, and having to make a financial decision, she's never had to make before. It's not really a very good time for her. It can be overwhelming, and it breaks my heart every time we see this happen to somebody who didn't see it coming.
And this is why we say the conversation has to happen now with both spouses here. Both spouses need to understand the plan, understand where the accounts are, understand the tax strategy. Because if one spouse passes, the other needs to be equipped to continue executing the plan. This isn't about scaring people, it's about preparing them for reality. And having a no-cost, no-obligation chat with my husband, Jared, our in-house tax department, is a really good use of your time.
All right, so we're talking about tax planning. It's really important to our clients, because they've been making a lot of money by working with us. So let's go there for a minute, right? Everybody chill out for a minute. We're not going to talk about death. Let's talk about making money. Here's a quick reminder of what we're actually working with here at Tennessee Wealth Management. Our performance through December 31st, 2025 was 36.3% net of fees for the whole year, beating the Dow by over 23 points. Over 7 years, we've averaged 16.7% annually compared to the Dow at 10.1%. Everything posted publicly, everything right there. TheOrganizedInvestor.com is the website. Completely transparent.
Thank you, Mr. Erik. And the reason we achieve these results is because we're not using the same cookie-cutter mutual fund approach that most advisors use, that we see all the time when people come visit us and they show us their statements, okay? We own individual dividend growth stocks, things like companies you may have heard of. Ever heard of Costco, Walmart, Home Depot, General Dynamics, Smucker's Jelly, Becton Dickinson, Susan's favorite? These are companies with long track records of increasing their dividends year after year. I mean, Lowe's has raised their dividend for 60 consecutive years. Think about that. It's a long, long time. And these are companies these types of companies, they hold up better during market downturns because they have real earnings, they have real values, and their shareholders are just not worried about them.
And there's another reason why owning individual stocks matters so much. When you own 15 to 20 mutual funds, like most advisory accounts have in them, you actually end up owning thousands of companies. Your star performers are carrying dead weight, companies that are dragging down your returns. We call it diversification.
Dun, 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 dun.
Or did that one, folks.
That was
a lot.
That was a lot. When diversification actually makes your performance worse, not better. So that's what's going on when you have too much diversification, you end up with diversification. And then you have diversification, which can then lead to diversive performance. Oh, man.
I know. I would stretch for that one.
So with individual stocks, we can be selective and own quality companies we actually believe in. And because these dividend growth stocks are less volatile, Jerry and Jared have been able to move in and pick up what they refer to as bargain opportunities during market downturns.
In other words, sell things that haven't dropped much and buy things that have gone down a lot. They did this big back in 2020 during COVID, during the banking crisis in 23. And the reason their average accounts are up so much, over 36% in 2025, well, they did this during the tariff scare in the spring of 25. Those are the bargain opportunities.
So because we own individual stocks instead of mutual funds, we have much more control over the situation. Control over which stocks to sell if we need to harvest a tax loss for your benefit, control over timing of gains and losses, control over keeping costs low without hidden internal fund expenses. Mutual funds don't give you that kind of control. You're at the mercy of the fund manager's decisions.
All right, let's bring this thing in here, bring it in tight, full circle for everybody listening today. Tax season never really goes away, does it? It doesn't. Most people are going to gather their documents, hand them to their CPA, look in the rearview mirror, and see what they did last year. But what we're also saying is you also need someone looking through the windshield. See what's coming down the road. See who's thinking about your situation strategically, not just mathematically.
Especially if you're in those sweet 16 years between retirement and age 73 when RMDs kick in. Those are your golden years for tax planning, your window of opportunity. Once you miss that window, you've lost opportunities you can never get back. The IRA tax bomb keeps growing and eventually it explodes, whether you're ready or not.
So if you're married, you need to be planning for that widow/widower penalty now, not sometime down the road. Convert money to a Roth IRA while both spouses are still alive, and you can actually still file that joint tax return. Take advantage of those lower married filing joint rates while you still have them before they go away. And don't leave your surviving spouse to deal with this triple whammy that we talked about they never saw coming, okay? That's not the legacy you want to leave behind for them.
All right, folks, let me tell you about our 4 Get 1 Frees again one more time. First, a Morningstar report with independent analysis of your current investments and a plain English explanation of that. Second, an Envision cash flow analysis showing if you're on track for retirement. Third, free estate planning documents through our Trust and Will partnership. And fourth, a signed Tennessee football from yours truly with a display stand.
There's no cost, no obligation, no catch, no pressure. Again, we believe if the information speaks for itself, smart people will make smart decisions. Just give us 20 minutes of your time and ask us anything that's on your mind. What do you have to lose?
So as Susan mentioned, call me directly. This is Jerry. Cell phone number 865, which spells Vol.
Vol, Jerry.
Phone number 415-2070. That's my personal cell phone. And please call before midnight tonight if you don't mind. I'll answer it myself. No automated system, no phone tree, just little old me. Or you can also visit theorganizedinvestor.com. That's organizedinvestor.com, where you can see our complete track record, read the articles on tax planning, estate planning, retirement strategies. You can even listen to our 25 podcasts we recorded up to about a year ago. All of our radio shows, all of them is completely free without charge. The best time for a second opinion was, say, a couple of years ago for you. The second best time is going to be today, okay? Give us a call. Don't let another tax season go by without someone looking through your windshield.
And remember, this information applies whether you're dealing with last year's taxes or planning for this year. Even if you've already filed, it's not too late to start planning for the next year. Those sweet 16 years don't just wait for anyone.
And if you're not in those sweet 16 years yet, if you're still working, this is still important information. The decisions you make now about 401k contributions, Roth versus traditional IRAs, or where your money is invested, all of that affects what your retirement tax situation will look like. Planning starts long before retirement. It's never too early to start looking through that windshield.
All right, that's it for today, folks. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with the Organized Investor Show. It's me, Erik Ainge, along with my wife, Susan Ainge, Megan Hubbard, and Jerry Goodman from Tennessee Wealth Management, East Tennessee's Financial Four. You can catch us every Saturday morning at 11, every Sunday at 9, right here on News Talk 98.7. It's time to get organized, get informed. This tax season, make sure someone is looking through your windshield, not just your rear view mirror. Plan now while both spouses are alive. Defuse the IRA tax bomb before it explodes and protect your surviving spouse from this triple whammy that we've been talking about. Remember, tax filing is looking backward, tax planning is looking forward. And as always, go Vols. We'll see you next week.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the Organized Investor or Tennessee Wealth Management. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Erik Ainge is a host of the Erik Ainge Show on 99.1 The Sports Animal, weekdays from 9 to noon. He is not a client of Tennessee Wealth Management, but is compensated to both promote and co-host the Organized Investor Show. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning or before making any investment decision. And please consult legal or tax professionals for specific information regarding your individual situation. Brokerage and advisory services are provided by Tennessee Wealth Management through Prospera Financial Services Incorporated. Member FINRA SIPC. The Organized Investor is a brand name operated by Tennessee Wealth Management for educational platform purposes.
At the Grimes Agency with Goosehead Insurance, getting a quote has never been easier. With our industry-leading online quoting tool, you can answer a few simple questions and see real-time quotes from over 30 A-rated insurance companies right on your screen or phone, often in less than 30 seconds. The entire process takes about 5 minutes, giving you instant access to real prices so you can make sure you're getting the most competitive option for your home and auto insurance. Your information is never shared, sold, or sent to third parties. Everything goes directly to the local Goosehead Insurance office where Mike Grimes and his team review your results, run your reports, and confirm your final quote when you're ready. Call Mike Grimes at 865-281-1267 or visit www.tn.insure today to experience the future of insurance shopping. The Grimes Agency with Goosehead Insurance. Insurance the way you always wished it was done.
For more than 50 years, families, businesses, and neighbors have trusted one name to make life's biggest moments unforgettable: Rose's Catering. Family owned, locally grown, serving this community since 1971. And now, Rose's is taking hospitality to new heights. Literally, inside the iconic Sunsphere, Knoxville's shining symbol from the 1982 World's Fair. Introducing Sunsphere Events. 2 breathtaking floors of panoramic views, elegant gatherings, and the warmth only Rose's can provide. Whether it's a wedding in the sky, a corporate reception, or a celebration with friends, Rose's and Sunsphere Events bring people together beautifully. Visit rosescatering.com or sunsphereevents.com to plan your next unforgettable event. Rose's Catering, a Knoxville tradition since 1971.